Welcome to the very 10th BriightCast episode. Guys, we're in double bloody digits.
Yeah, we are. Oh.
Insert noise. Yeah, I bought one of those party things in to celebrate it. That's the extent of a celebration.
Yes, it's a double-digit one.
It's a double-digit one. This week, we're going to be talking all about when to refresh your content. And that's everything from websites to showreels to the big bad boy of branding.
Yeah. We mentioned Google Ads, and I had a Google Ads consultant call, which was just typical Google Ads nonsense. So I have a little rant about that.
Yeah, this week our sponsor is Google Ads.
I talk about raring up for 2023, getting everyone's strategy ready.
Yeah.
And is it too early to mention the C word?
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah, we're setting up for Christmas campaigns.
Nice. And I talk all about getting ready for a week of shoots in the studio.
Let's dive in.
Welcome to the very 10th BriightCast. It's a big deal, guys.
Double digits.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Wow. Who'd have thought it? 10.
Not me.
Double digits.
11 if you count the one we had to do again.
Let's not bring that back up. shall we?
11.5 if you also count the mini.
Yeah. Minis. Unreleased.
Yeah. 12 if you count the unreleased mini.
Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's just a regular run-of-the-mill episode.
Let's get into it. Drew, what you've been on this week?
Well, this week I am sorting out lots of production stuff for a big studio shoot we've got. We've got I think we've got 12 people coming in to do loads of interviews on an Infinity White setup we've got in the studio space.
Yep.
So we're going to be filming, I think, 5 or 6 a day over Wednesday and Friday. And yeah, it's going to be fun because we've had client shoots in this whole studio space, but never actually in the main studio space.
Yeah.
They've always been in here or on the mez or in different rooms.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I don't want to jinx it, guys, but there's going to be zero problems and it's going to be an incredible shoot.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a little follow-up next pod.
And talking about amazing things, guys, what are you on?
Great setup. I'll come in now, but it is less amazing. It was funny. I was on a Google Ads call this morning with a random ads representative from Google who wanted to run through a new one that was set up. And it just made me realize like how much ordinary people, when setting up ads, would struggle because it's a complex thing anyway, but the guidance you get, it's so bizarre. It's just the constant, even though they know we've got an ad management account with, double-digit clients in there, spending thousands, and they still try the same things, which is make every word a broad match. Oh, and if you increase your daily budget on this campaign from £16 a day to £100 a day, you'll get more clicks.
Really?
Yeah, so it was just putting that in focus. But I guess that's why we're here anyway, and that's why ads people exist to combat that.
Yeah.
Jess, what you've been on? Something more optimistic and cheerier.
We're gearing up to the end of the year, so prepping all of our clients for 2023. So starting to look at strategy plans for 2023, looking at ad plans for ourselves and for clients. We spoke about in a previous episode a new client came on specifically for strategy. So we're about halfway through that now, gearing up for, again, 2023. But yeah, it's just prepping, making sure we're prepared, getting campaigns and assets ready. Yeah. Getting ads lined up.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what you're doing, but obviously if we're gearing up to the end of the year, you're really just specking Christmas trees, right?
That's part of it.
We could get a 20-footer in the studio.
I mean, there's going to be one in here, one in the mez, one in the studio. Then we've got to have one in the office upstairs to make us feel Christmassy.
Yeah. I'll be dressed as a Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm currently trying to put on critical mass so I can better fit the Santa outfit.
Yeah.
So that's going well.
Yeah. Christmas is just a cheese diet for me.
Yeah.
Just bring out the cheese. In the new year, maybe just for January, while we shake that holiday weight, we'll probably do blurrier or more zoomed out shots of the pod.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's all a cheese diet. We know a guy who, in the run up to his wedding diet was a block of Edam and a Ferrero pyramid.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just happy to put on critical mass and keep it on. And talking of keeping it on, let's keep this podcast on track and move on to our main subject.
I hate that's in our top 10 segues.
Yeah.
Main topic then, I've been thinking about it. It was, I'll get to why, because there'll be a specific example, but really a bit of rules of thumb around when's the best time to refresh your content. Marketing content, but obviously there's different content, different platforms, different ways people put things out. When's a good time to refresh? So I think a good thing for us to do would be list certain pieces of marketing content, and then we can go through them and say when's an ideal time to change it. It might be a set period. It might also just be signs to look for on when it needs a refresh. So who wants to say one? And we can just go for it.
Let's go for homepage video.
Okay.
And that can be, any kind of homepage video. It's just the first bit of content that your visitor will see.
Yes, yeah. And usually I think that's sort of the overview, right? I mean, it can be about the company, but often it's overview of a service.
It's either a show reel or it's a meet the team, that type of thing, isn't
it? An explainer.
Like a lot of them do like a day in the life, don't they? That type of thing.
Yeah. I would say obviously you can do it when it feels right for your company, but yearly I think feels right to me.
Yeah. I think the main trigger points is probably if there's a change to that service or change to your business. So yes, yearly is a nice refresh period, but people don't need to get sort of caught up on the fact of, we need to change this video every year.
Yeah.
It's more if the content's adjusted.
Yeah.
So if you haven't changed it in 2 years, it might be time to change it.
Yeah, because I think obviously throughout the year you might introduce a new service.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to hire or fire people, so your team's going to change. And then your homepage video is a good chance to then start including that new service within, your overview picture. And also, see what the new team, if you've got new premises, new offices, redecorated, that kind of thing. It's all good stuff a good excuse to redo that homepage video.
A lot of homepage videos will also have like client work in there. For us in particular, we're working on our new homepage video and it's got a lot of client work in there that we want to showcase. That's the point of our show reel. Whereas in a year's time, we're going to be working with new people. We're going to have more work to show, more work that we're proud of.
Yeah.
So then it's a point of refreshing what's inside of that video.
Yeah.
It's also, you're going to want to change. Also, you're going to want to promote that video quite a bit.
Yeah.
So you might put it through ads. It's going to be on your, again, homepage. You're going to put it on social media.
Yeah.
In various other forms. So people are going to get bored of that video. Once they've watched it once, that's it. Whereas if you're refreshing it every year, it gives people a reason to rewatch your content.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that probably leads on to perhaps being a bit data-led with the video as well and when to change it. So it might be that you've started seeing a drop-off on watch-through rate or whatever Google tracking you've got on there or any tracking on there. So you can go data-led and be like, it's time for a change. People are starting to drop off on this. And also testing, you could just test different edits and cuts of the stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Because often with a homepage video, you might start from scratch, but you're going to repurpose or use some existing assets or footage, right?
So personally, I don't know about the drop-off rate with Google, just because I would argue that's if you've got the same people looking at it, because it's always new content for someone who's watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
The main reasons I would want to refresh, let's say, a showreel video, where it's obviously purely client-led, like you say, Jess, would be, if you just have more work that you want to show that you are either as proud of or more proud of than the work that you currently have.
Yeah.
Or if the work that you had kind of looks like it could be dated. For instance, if there's certain trends, obviously there was like a massive thing in around like 2012, that era, where light leaks were in everything. Everyone had light leaks everywhere. But so our current showreel, obviously we're guilty of it. If anyone checks it out, it currently still says 2020. But a lot of the work on it, I'm still really proud of.
Yeah.
Obviously we could do a change of the date. Maybe we'll have changed it by the time this goes out. Who knows? Let's see. But I'm still really proud of the work, and none of the work looks dated in terms of trends or anything like that, editing techniques. So for me, I'm kind of I guess less bothered by the data, but I look at less data than you guys. So that makes sense. You guys are obviously going to be more bothered by it because you guys look into it a lot more. You guys constantly looking at analytics, and more bothered about the work that's actually within it.
You make a good point though, because I think for every company, you might not have a visual update of a service you're providing in a different way or different clients. But if you're doing your job properly, you're probably going to be getting reviews or testimonials from clients that you want to incorporate in your homepage video as well. And they're going to get better.
Yeah.
As you grow, you should get better clients.
Yeah.
It might be that you want to put household names in there, or even just, nice transformative words from them on the change you've been able to help with your service.
Yeah.
And get that in there.
And you should be making better work.
Yeah.
So if we look at the work we made when we first started Future Proof Films before Bright,
yeah.
that work is terrible compared to what we do now. And it's not to say it was terrible then, but in comparison, we're miles and miles apart from where we are, from where we were then to where we are now. So yeah, like you're always making better work. You're always hopefully going to be getting better projects.
Yeah.
We've just signed a contract for a new project that's going to start production on end of this month, going into December, then January.
Yeah.
And that could be a really, really cool showreel piece.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I've already got, already kind of eyeing it up for the showreel.
Yeah.
So with that type of thing, you're constantly going to want to update your showreel because you've got all these new things on it.
Yeah. And with our marketing clients, we see that with new people that they're working with.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we'll get a case study from this. We'll get a testimonial from this. And it's all about updating, your impact out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's a few things that people can do to stop it being dated. One is obviously not putting a date on it or using content that has a date within it.
Yeah.
So,
or be aware and
or
commit
be
to
aware
that.
to that. Yeah. But even then, it is just that if we forget to do that or we're not looking at it regularly enough, it's just avoid putting that date on it.
Yeah.
It's also steer away necessarily from trends. And I'm not saying that in a way where you can't include trends within your video. But like Drew said, if you're not planning on updating it regularly, having trends within there is going to date it straight away.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of steer away from them, but still have a great video, it'll be better in the long run.
Yeah, I think you could steer away from it. But at the same time, you obviously use certain trends for a reason, don't you? So like you would use certain trends because from a really, really quick visual like identification perspective, a potential client will see lots of these trends because it's a trend. It will be used everywhere by lots of companies. So they might see adverts, videos, wherever they're looking, even still content where it's using aspects of these trends.
Yeah.
And then if you show them that, they know that you can do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they asked us or any other video production company, visual marketing agency, I'm sure they could just say, oh, we haven't done that trend, but yeah, of course we can do that trend. Because most of these trends are just, it's the same visual thing, it's the same nuts and bolts, but you're just doing something slightly different, whether it be, text, shooting style, design, anything like that.
I think there's different case purposes though. Like, I don't think there's a need to necessarily use those trends within your homepage video because it's such a cornerstone piece for your marketing and your website and everything. Whereas you could use that trend in a vlog or within more of, not a throwaway piece, but something that's not going to be as prominent.
Like a campaign asset, a 3-month thing.
Rather than it being such a cornerstone piece that you are only going to change once a year, once every 2 years.
Yeah, it's less about us using or you, other agencies, using trends to make your showreel.
Yeah.
It's more about you've used those trends for those for the client work, and therefore they will exist in your showreel. You don't have to use those trends for your own editing, but they will exist there because those clients you've had that year may have wanted to have used those trends. Yeah. That's kind of what I mean. But I think do that because, like I say, from a quick identification point of view, like they can quickly identify that you do those trends. Clients will ask for these often. We'll get it like every year. There'll be a trend, and we'll have people asking for that very specific thing. Yeah. Or they might not necessarily need that for their actual video, so we might then recommend other things. But that's kind of a thing that they would quickly see that we can do it, ask us if we can do that, and then we would have the talk whether it's actually right or not.
Yeah, and I think the tip is to make it iterative, not derivative. It's not just a carbon copy. It's, using that effect and putting your own stamp on it and bringing it there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, every time you do it, it's something slightly different, something unique. I think as well, I would just say if you're trying to avoid lots of things so you don't have to rehash your content, refresh your content, I would just, firstly, I'd ask why. Yeah. Like, is it purely, are you just trying to save money? Do you think you're going to save money by not refreshing your content? Do you not think there would be a financial benefit to refreshing your content?
Yeah.
I would obviously quickly argue there is.
Yeah.
The other one would be, yeah, you don't necessarily have to refresh all of the content. So you can do things like Jess, you mentioned kind of like future proofing and stuff like that, looking at ways of future proofing things. You can avoid certain things so you don't have to refresh them constantly. For instance, if you've got a high turnover team, don't include your team in everything because then you'll have to refresh it constantly.
Yeah. We recently did that on 118 videos after I advised not putting the team on the end board. And 118 videos had to be redone.
Yeah, that was really fun. It was a really good time. So yeah, don't do stuff if you've got like a high turnover team, or let's say you've got like, you're constantly moving between different offices. I don't know why you would be, but it's another reason why you might want to quickly refresh things. It would just be looking at ways that you could maximize the footage that you already have or the content that you already have, and then refreshing, like getting a new version, but from lots of that.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to constantly do a brand new version of things.
Yeah.
You can just do like slight refreshers.
Yeah.
So a really quick refresher that I would like do with a showreel, for instance, would just be to change the first 15 seconds, the final 15 seconds. Let's say the showreel's like 60 seconds long.
Yeah.
For 30 seconds in between, you could just mix up the order of things a little, maybe spice in an odd couple of new shots.
Having a new track to put it to, new tempo.
Yeah, definitely new track, new tempo, exactly. Maybe like, new text if you're using text to power it through. That's a really quick way of just refreshing that content you have. It's not going to take a great amount of time. You're not starting completely from scratch. You've already got a bit of content in there.
Yeah.
And that's just one way you could very quickly refresh your content.
Yeah, no, that's good. Because I think from a marketing perspective, everything you've decided to include in a messaging point of view is still going to be relevant to your business, really.
Yeah.
So that's not going to change. It is just that content surrounding it. So that's a good tip to get out there.
So let's pick a different piece of content. How often do you think someone should change their website?
Yeah, I think it's a really fundamental change that Sony really brought about if your company is going through quite a big transition, I think.
Yeah.
As long as it's functioning okay and still looks okay and on brand, I think you could go 3 years maybe?
I was going to say 3 to 4 years. And I say that thinking how websites were 3 to 4 years ago compared to now.
Yeah.
They are very different.
Yeah.
And then I can only imagine how websites are going to be in 3 to 4 years from now.
Yeah.
And it isn't necessarily a case of the website still might look okay, but compared to your competitors at that point, your website won't look okay.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, it's fine. It's just to keep up with the competition and to keep up with the market.
Yeah.
There still needs to be a change.
Yeah.
But I think it can be a little bit longer.
And hopefully you're not just keeping up with competitors. You might be aware of changes and then that's a catalyst to question yourself and whether it's time to push your own website on.
Yeah, I guess it's similar to the showreel chat, and all this will be kind of similar in the sense that there will be website trends as there are video trends or other kinds of marketing content trends. So if you've like heavily relied on certain trends, then 3 years down the line when those trends have gone out the window, it might just feel even more dated.
We've seen it with one-pagers where a lot of companies, especially startups, were just trying to do a one-page website where it was anchor points and continuous scroll, and they just thought, rather than send people around, because it was a lot of focus on how many clicks it took to get to the inquiry page and things like that. So one-pagers came in, but then, they didn't really perform because SEO, you want to move around, you want to get specific and niche and go into detail in some areas.
It was even for that, how many clicks it takes you to get to the inquiry. People are still going to click on your menu. So it's still, even though it's not technically taking them anywhere, they're still anchoring to different parts.
Yeah.
Then anchoring to the content. So the clicks aren't necessarily any less.
Yeah. A UX buddy of mine, he used to write articles and he still does. And they do really well about how the burger is, like when people would default into a burger menu, it was killing websites. And he had a client and it was someone massive like Pepsi, but it wasn't Pepsi, but that sort of caliber. And for some reason, it really dropped off their user engagement and almost crippled the company just from burger menu.
Because there's not just a clear navigation right at the top.
Yeah, yeah. And then the example that brought this topic to mind was Neil Patel and Eric Sue's marketing school, and they was talking about the best way to lower your Google Ads spend and cost per click. And the best way was to refresh your content. And they were talking specifically about display ads and search ads. But display ads, I always advise a client 3 months.
Yeah.
Change it after 3 months, or start testing against the best performers you've got after 3 months.
We advise clients campaign lengths of 3 months as well. So it's a nice length to kind of, at the end of each campaign, we then refresh the content for the next campaign, including the display ads.
Yeah. And it's never to forget the ones that are performing well. It's always to test against them, because it might be that those ads stay in rotation for 2 years. Depends how you use them. We tend to use display ads for remarketing purposes, so we probably would refresh them longer than that. But if you are just doing an awareness Google display campaign, it might be that 2 years you can keep running those ads as long as they're hitting new people and still performing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's about not accepting that there's a ceiling, always going beyond those percentages. You might have something, double, triple what the industry average should be in terms of click-through and conversion, but you could still do better. You don't know. You've always got to test against it.
ABT, always be testing.
Always be testing. Yeah, but it was just nice that it was reassuring that the man Neil Patel says you should change this up. And I'm like, we do that. That's what we do. It's amazing.
Yeah. What would you say for search ads? So he says 3 months, but the way we kind of do ads, like we say, every campaign, there might be a new set of search ads, depending on what the campaign's for. So for 2023, one of our clients, the first campaign they're running is a new product.
Yeah.
So there'll be new search ads for that. There'll be new display ads. There'll be new landing pages, etc., etc. So we'll be creating new ads for that.
Yeah.
In terms of like a huge search ad refresh, what would you recommend to people?
Yeah, I think when the language in your industry evolves, and it's important to take stock probably every 6 months and see if it has evolved, that's a good time to do it. But the thing with search ads is you're constantly optimizing anyway. Yeah. So you're constantly looking at what search terms triggered things and then introducing those search terms.
I think on average, it is around 6 months that we kind of sit down with our clients. We'll pull like a massive report, sit down with the copy and everything, and start from scratch necessarily with the ads again. Just so it is new language, it's new copy. The website copy might have evolved. Again, there might be new products. There might be a different message they want to put in there.
Yeah.
Some of it might be, it's like you say, from top performing. We don't wipe away these top performing ads that are performing really well. Yeah. But it is about testing against them and then optimizing them to make sure that everything's performing.
And I think it's important because the problem is if you have a really good campaign that's performing well for a few months, say up to a year, your competition's going to start using language similar to that.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to completely change tact and go for completely new language.
Yeah.
Always testing against what you've already got. But yeah, just to keep it moving on and stay at that bleeding edge of things when it comes to search ads. Nice. Any other content you can think that might need refreshing? Or that's I guess we're just talking about marketing content that's quite long lasting, isn't it?
I guess your blogs, your articles.
Yeah. The written word.
The written word, yeah.
That's a really good point. At the end of October, we obviously do reports for clients, and within a report for one of our clients, they're scoring really high on SEO. They get thousands and thousands and thousands of clicks a month, SEO alone, never mind paid and everything. And they're starting to capitalize on it. So we've been advising them in terms of updating imagery, updating CTAs, making sure there's links within the text.
Internal links to the services and things,
So like lower bounce rates, because we saw when we first took on their marketing, the bounce rates were 90% upwards because people were reading the blog and then disappearing.
Yeah.
We've managed to bring them down considerably by adding these different things. But something we recommended to them recently was to update blogs.
Yeah.
So they have some blogs written in even 2018, maybe as early as that. Some ranging up to sort of this year. But the content's old because it's written in 2018. Their market's fast paced. It's moving all the time. So we sort of spoke to them about adding a little update section, and don't try and hide the fact you've updated it. It can literally be update from this date or update on new news to add more information about that, or say this is why we've created this service, or maybe not as salesy as that, but new information that they've found out around that topic.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jess. So we've covered visuals and the written word. Anything else, Drew?
Branding?
Branding.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
often should you refresh your branding?
Branding's a really interesting point, and I don't think. I mean, we will put a time frame on it as a suggestion, but I don't think necessarily there's a one size fit all for branding.
Yeah.
Because you could create a brand that's going to see you through for 20 years.
Yeah.
But you could also create a brand that's very, say if you created a brand this year, it's very 2022. It's very 2022. Whereas in 3 years' time, because you've capitalised on trends, you've capitalised on certain colours, you haven't future-proofed your logo and your branding,
Yeah.
you're going to have to constantly change that. Or you might be a startup and I don't know how to word this without being dicky, but like you might be a startup and have not enough budget to create a great logo or this amazing branding that's solidified. So in 3 years when you're doing amazingly, you're going to want to update that branding.
And also the foresight to be able to send out those brand guidelines for people to implement things. Because when you're a startup, you're doing it all yourself. So you're developing it as you go. But actually, if it's built from the ground up, you can quickly scale because you can send them out and protect your brand and your image. We do see it with a lot of startups where it's a little amateurish, I guess, if they've tried to design it themselves. So then I would say as soon as you can afford it, get an expert in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you're a startup and you've not got that much money and you're wanting to invest in lots of things, so you're wanting to invest in maybe external marketing, branding, you know, paid ads, lots and lots of things. Yeah. Your budget's probably a little tight.
I remember as Future Proof Films, we changed our brand a few times in the first couple of years. And you then showed me the infamous blue diamond logo that we can't find anymore. But I remember at the time saying, honestly, if I'd have seen that, I would have not have joined this company.
Yeah, no, it was a really, really well-designed logo. Yeah, but I wasn't then a branding guy. I'm still not a branding guy now. I know more about design now than I did then.
Yeah.
So I would not design that ever again, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was just throwing logos out. We just started a company, you know. I think with branding, I think if we look at the other examples that we gave, so like website, showreel, homepage videos, all those campaign content, we can all put like numbers or durations, time spans on these things. I think with branding, it's just a little bit more difficult because, like you say, Jess, it could be 20 years, it could be 2.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of like, why are you doing it? What is the reason? Obviously, there's a reason and a why for all the other examples we've given. So, showreel, homepage video,
ads,
marketing content, website, etc. There's a time span that you can put on these things. So, we would say, like to sum up, like we said for showreel, maybe every year.
Yeah.
Whereas with branding, I think it's more difficult because, like you say, Jess, it could be 20 years or it could be 2 in the time that you'd need to rebrand.
Yeah.
And that's because I think you need a very specific reason as to why you're rebranding. Obviously, there's reasons that you would need for all the other examples. So, for instance, with the showreel, it's because you've got new work. That's a reason. But I think with rebranding, I think it's a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger, a bit more powerful because that is you. The showreel is like a once a year summation of what you've done.
Yeah.
Whereas the branding is you.
Yeah.
So, for instance, we rebranded from Future Proof Films to Bright.
Yeah.
And we did it for a massive reason because we completely pivoted in what we offer our clients.
Yeah.
That was a really big reason as to why we rebranded.
Yeah.
But with Future Proof Films, we did little rebrands throughout, but they weren't really rebrands. We just kind of refreshed our palette or refreshed our logo.
Yeah.
Took a little look at the way we might, piece together our visual identity in motion or something like that.
I guess we were refining it, weren't we, as we went along?
Yeah. Whereas they were like, they weren't even like refreshers. They were like just tiny refreshers, just little tiny refreshers. So yeah, I think what's the reason? Why are you doing it?
The strongest reason I've heard recently for a brand refresh, and it's happened in the last couple of bigger marketing clients we've taken on, is they're aiming at different and newer demographics, a little higher up in their industry food chain, if it were. So when they started out, they were presented themselves as a real bespoke, nimble unit. Whereas now they're dealing with bigger corporates and they want to attach larger corporates because they're really enjoying the money that they're getting paid by larger corporates.
Yeah.
So they want to update their brand because they might feel like it's a little childlike or not serious enough and things like that. And that's a really good reason to go for it. And then there's loads of challenges to solve with that because you don't want to just be bland and boring.
Refreshing your brand's a big deal as well.
Yeah.
All everything else we spoke about in this episode can be changed within a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
You can create new ads, you can create a new video, you can create maybe not a website in weeks, but you could start the ball rolling on a website.
Yeah.
Whereas branding goes into all of those things. Branding will go into your website. It will be your whole visual identity. It will go into the branding you have on your video. It will go into your social campaigns. It will go into your display and imagery. So there needs to be a lot more thought in there.
Yeah.
When we rebranded Bright, future-proof to Bright, it took us over a year to sort of nail down our visual identity, the colours, our logo, the fonts we're using, everything. So it's not a 2-minute task. So refreshing your branding every year to then take a year to rebrand is obviously pointless.
Yeah.
It was our values as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like our values formed a massive part of that.
It was a complete new business, really. It was a whole change.
Yeah. But it's more, it needs to be refreshed at the time you think it needs to be refreshed.
Yeah.
And there will be a reason why you think that.
Yeah.
We've been working with a client for about 3 years now. And when they came to us, they were quite corporate. And they're still corporate, but their branding's evolved quite a bit, and they've got different elements now. It's quite a lot brighter, a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Still with a corporate edge to that.
Yeah.
But it's completely different to when they first came to us, and they've evolved it little by little over the years. So it wasn't a huge refresh they've done. It did end in a new website, which may feel like a big refresh compared to the old website. But if you look at their social content or their video content or their ads, everything has that touch now. So it wasn't a huge shock. It was just over time. So people might find branding isn't something you change altogether at one go. It evolves with you.
You can evolve it. And I think for them, they were in a privileged position because their current stuff was still working.
Yeah.
But they were mindful that it needed modernizing.
Yeah.
So we were able to do that almost with campaigns that we were doing.
Yeah.
We were evolving their brand as we were going and pushing them, and they were asking to be pushed as well, which was nice, which was good. So I think to sum up, in terms of branding, there is no timescale. It's when it's right, when it's appropriate.
Yep.
When it happens, it can be a bit full on, but you're doing it because of a big change. So that's why it's worthwhile. And homepage videos, show reels, we're saying yearly, probably.
I think look at it every, let's say 9 to 15 months, depending on the amount of work that you're getting in that you would then want to shout about.
Yeah. Yeah, you should start picking up on, this would look great. We need to shout about this. We need to do this. And as soon as you get a few of those, it's probably time, right?
Yeah. I mean, we did it where we did a shoot in this room like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we shot it, we were like, that needs to go in. So you could have just slotted those shots in.
Yeah.
If you've got a project or something that you've just created, you could then just slot certain shots in.
Yeah.
That's also a curse because we've been working on it for a while, and every time we film something, not every time, but sometimes when we film something that we're really, really, really proud of, so we want to slot that in. So then it takes the show reel back a step because we need to fit these 10 other shots in.
Yeah, I think at that point you just got to decide whether it's worth it or not, whether it's worth holding off.
Yeah, I think if we were to sum up with like tips as to what tips I would give, it's around that kind of like gift curse type situation.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say always look for better work. If you're creating something that you're really, really proud of, always try and get that in there. Yeah. Because even if only subconsciously, if you have the work that you are the most proud of, obviously, you will want to shout about that the loudest, and you'll push it a lot more. Yeah. If you have work that you've not refreshed for a few years and you're then no longer as proud of that as you are your current work, not to say that you're not proud of it, but not as proud, you're just not going to shout about it as much. We'll all have those projects where at the time it's an amazing, amazing project. Yeah. And then even if it's not to do with the work, and even if a person external to your business wouldn't know, there'll be something that may have gone on, a negative client, that type of experience that you just don't want to include it anymore. Yeah. I can't actually think of any examples that we have for that, to be honest, where we've included work and there's been a negative experience, but I'm sure people will have that. Yeah. So yeah, like I think just try and have the work that you're most proud of, but to go take it back to the cursed gift thing, that should not stop you from putting stuff out. Get stuff out right now, as soon as you possibly can. and then update. Once you've
Yeah.
got it out, you can update it at any time, and you're not taking it down to update it. It's still there.
Yeah.
So like the client you mentioned from a privileged position where they could do this kind of like slow rebrand because they already had stuff that was paying off for them. It's a similar thing. Get the work out right now.
Yeah.
Be proud of that, but then update it as you go.
Top it up
Yeah.
almost. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that applies to companies that aren't necessarily doing visual work, but it might be that your service, you normally roll it out to organizations of 30 people, but now you've got a testimonial from someone who have said how great it's been to roll it out to 1,000 people globally. You can get that in there and update that.
I think my one tip would be putting time aside to refresh content.
Yeah.
And putting it in your calendar. So say if you want to refresh search ads every 6 months, putting time ahead for 6 months' time, because 6 months will go by really quickly and you'll forget about it.
Yeah.
You will obviously be constantly optimizing those ads, but you won't think, oh, it's 6 months down the line, like I need to refresh this, especially if you're doing them yourself. The same with campaigns, setting aside, if you're doing them every 3 months, having time to sit and look at the content you're going to be putting out.
Yeah.
Also with blogs, having a routine of once they've been out a year, I'm going to add a little update, or once they've been out 3 years, I'm going to add a little update.
Especially with blogs, if you see people are going to them and catching on to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my tip, I'm just going to echo the man Neil Patel, who brought this topic to us, is that with your ads, refresh them. And I would say at least every 3 months, get new stuff in there, A/B test them against the current stuff, and don't accept that there's a ceiling for results.
Yeah.
Great episode. Top 10, I would say.
Top 10.
Cool.